time to run it back. I'm your host, Sydney Clark, and what a weekend in sports it was. We saw LeBron James make history, KD is going to the Suns, and we saw a Super Bowl for the books. But there is so much more, and we have it all covered for you. From KU Hoops, UFC 248, NFL Hall of Fame inductees, NBA, and Brock has a special NFL Top 5 place for us. It's going to be a good one, and what a good game KU men's basketball is coming off of, defeating Oklahoma by 23 points. Let's go to Jackson Reed for a recap and preview of the Jayhawks matchup against OSU and Stillwater tonight.
Welcome back to this week's KU Hoops Rundown. I'm Jackson Reed, and we have one game to go over and one game to preview, so let's get right into it. The only game Kansas played since the last time we were on air was on Saturday when they traveled down to Norman to take on Boomer Sooner, and maybe the Sooners left their game on campus corner. That's a Norman joke for those at home. Kansas ran Oklahoma out of the building. Kansas had 4 players to score in double digits and had energy from their bench as Ernest Uday made some plays, MJ Rice got some burn, and yes, even Michael Jankovic hit a 3 to put the cherry on top. Kansas won by a final score of 78-55, and with Texas losing to Texas Tech last night, it becomes an absolute battle for first place in the Big 12 entering Tuesday night. For Kansas, the task is simple. Beat Oklahoma State tonight in Stillwater, and you're in first place. If you lose, we have a whole different situation on our hands, and it could get sticky. Things are only becoming more and more entertaining as we make that fun turn into March. So make sure you're right back here next Tuesday because things could look a lot different. Sid, I know you're still celebrating that Chiefs win in the Super Bowl. How are we feeling?
I'm still on cloud 9, that's for sure, Jackson, but I know someone else who is also still celebrating, and that's Jackson Bezdek, who has a Super Bowl 57 recap like no other. The Kansas City Chiefs had the Lombardi Trophy back home for the second time in 3 years. It's back like it never left the kingdom. Patrick Mahomes, no matter what, can be stopped. Travis Kelce can't be covered, and Harrison Butker redeemed himself all in one kick. Bezdek, how are you feeling after that Super Bowl?
Well, I gotta say I'm feeling pretty good, and everyone, it's the final edition of 4th and Bez. A sad moment for sure, but there is simply too much to be excited about because the Kansas City Chiefs took down the Eagles 38-35 in Super Bowl 57, with Patrick Mahomes taking home his second Super Bowl MVP, becoming the first player in NFL history to be named the regular season and Super Bowl MVP in the same season. He was simply spectacular all night, going 21 for 27 for 182 yards.
Mahomes looking that way,
Patrick got off an absurd 131.8 quarterback rating. It wasn't the best game I've ever seen him play, but he was incredibly efficient, barely making a bad throw. But it wasn't just the fact that he was performing at the highest level on the biggest stage. It was the guys he was doing it with. Guys that nobody else wanted or believed in. Guys like Kadarius Toney, who was a cast-off in New York riddled with injuries before Andy Reid got him. Guys like Sky Moore, a rookie second-round draft pick who at the beginning of the season looked like he wouldn't even make the playoff roster. Now he's scoring touchdowns in the Super Bowl. It just goes to show how dominant that Andy Reid to Patrick Mahomes duo is. They traded away Tyreek Hill, arguably the best wide receiver in the entire league, and not only did they not get worse, Mahomes had the best year of his career, and they won the Super Bowl. The Hill trade seemed to be such a loss that people actually picked them to miss the playoffs in the preseason, which seems so ridiculous looking back on it. Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL. In my opinion, with what he's accomplished, with the talent he's had, it's undeniable. Pair him with one of the best tight ends of all time, and maybe the most talented human we've seen at the quarterback position, well, obviously that team's gonna win the Super Bowl. It just goes to show that you can literally give these guys anyone on the outside, and they're still going to put up a bunch of points. So look, you can take the route of complaining about the refs and looking at the holding call at the end of the game, saying it cost the Eagles. Or you can look at it and say, wow, the Chiefs just completely dominated that whole second half and were ultimately the best team in the league all season. So the question has to be asked now, are the Chiefs a dynasty? In my opinion, not yet. 2 in 4 years is impressive and definitely puts the Chiefs as the franchise to beat in the league. But I always think you need 3 to be a dynasty. Look back at the Patriots. They got 3 and 4 and then 3 and 5 a decade later. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the team of the 70s, won 4 in 6 years. Kansas City is hitting every checkpoint along the way and becoming a dynasty. And they think they can get one more in the next 2 to 3 years and keep going to these AFC Championship games, then I think it's safe to say that we can call them the team of the decade in the National Football League. And that'll do it for football season. The Chiefs are the champions of the world. Hope everyone has an incredible offseason. After the break, Chad will be breaking down the inductees of the future home of Patrick Mahomes.
For students searching for a way to stay active in an outdoorsy way, the City of Lawrence has bike trails running in every direction, and with the new bike share program, we can stay in shape as we tour the sights of our beautiful city. Clinton Lake is only a short 30-minute bike ride away from Daisy Hill and has the most incredible sunset location in all of Lawrence. Walking campus may give you the KU calves, but biking can give you the KU thighs. Bike Lawrence today.
Have a nice day. You too. Have a great day. Thanks. You too.
Make someone's day. Pay it forward.
The NFL announced a list of greats who are getting their golden jackets with their name in the 2023 NFL Hall of Fame. 9 remarkable players have left an impact on the game we all love, and it's only fitting that the man whose name will be in the Hall of Fame one day discussed the list of honorees. Chad, take it away.
Sydney, I'm still waiting for your Hall of Fame induction. When's that going to be? Come on, Roger, she's due. As we wait for Sid's Golden Jacket ceremony, let's check in on who made their way into Canton this weekend. The NFL 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame class is 9 members deep, a group of rich defensive prowess, but rounded out by a legendary trenchman and offensive mind. Let's kick it off with the lone offensive player in the class, Joe Thomas. Thomas started 167 straight games throughout his 11-year career, all with the Cleveland Browns. Thomas made the best of a career protecting some pretty crummy quarterbacks and earned 6 All-Pro first-team honors. From a career Brown to a career Buck, next up is Rondé Barber, a Super Bowl champion and defensive back and lone member of the 40-interception, 25-sack club. Barber got his bust on his 6th year in the ballot. He's also the Bucs' all-time leader in defensive touchdowns with 12. Speaking of lockdown corners, the next man headed to the Hall is a sole inhabitant of Revis Island, Darrelle Revis. I know RunitBack is a no-opinion show, but I don't think this statement is opinion, it's fact. Revis is the best corner of the 21st century. His 2009 season will go down as one of the best of all time, a year where he set the record for PFF grades and created this insane graphic. Revis is a shoo-in. Talking about dominant years, how about DeMarcus Ware's 2008, anyone? Our next inductee is a legendary pass rusher from Troy who tallied over 138 sacks in his career, good for 13th all-time. In 9 years with Dallas, Ware missed only 3 games and route to 4 first-team All-Pros before finally getting his ring in 2015 with Denver. Last up from the current ballot is Zach Thomas, who made it in after 10 years on the ballot. Thomas tallied over 1,100 tackles in the 2000s, third most of anyone in the decade, and was rewarded with the roster slot on the All-2000s decade team. Thomas was a staple with Miami and earned 5 first-team All-Pros in his career. That's all for the active ballot player inductees, but there's still some more busts to be made for this class. Don Coryell made it in as a coach and contributor, plus Chuck Howley, Joe Kletko, and Ken Riley as members of the senior ballot. The 2023 Hall of Fame class will be enshrined the first week of August as the league prepares for its 104th season. Speaking of class acts, next up is Alex with your update on KU Women's Hoops.
Hey Jayhawks, happy Valentine's Day and happy game day, at least for the men's team. But you guys know I'm here to talk about the women's team, so let's get right into it. Last week, the Lady Jayhawks scorched TCU. The game was led by Chandler Prattler, who led the game with 19 points, and Tiana Jackson recorded her 15th double-double on the season. She leads the Big 12 in rebounding, field goal percentage, double-doubles, and blocks. Right before the half, the Jayhawks defense forced 4 turnovers and went into the break by 20 points, thanks to a run by Prattler. With a couple of made threes, Holly Kurzjeter moved into 4th all-time in Kansas women's hoops history in made three-pointers with 182. The Jayhawks kept up the good mojo and closed the game 73-55. Over the weekend, the team traveled to Lubbock to play the Raiders and had another amazing game. The Jayhawks dominated the paint with a victory of 78-67. Texas Tech could just not stop Jackson as she grabbed 24 points and 11 rebounds. Both teams accumulated 4 turnovers, which each led to 7 points apiece just in the first quarter. The fourth quarter proved some foul trouble for the Hawks as the Raiders made it to the free throw line, but fortunately for the Jayhawks, their opponents just could not make any of those attempts and only had 5 of 9. Let's have a moment of silence for those pink jerseys both teams wore in order to fight against breast cancer. Yeah, those were awesome, and I'm sure a rewarding game for both teams giving back to a prominent issue in women's health. After an amazing week, Jackson received the honor of being named the Big 12 Player of the Week for the 2nd time this season. Kansas improved to 16-7 on the season, and next on the agenda for the Jayhawks is West Virginia tomorrow night and later this weekend back at home against number 15 Oklahoma. That's all I have for today, but after the break, we'll head to Namdi for an NBA trade deadline update.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
We saw some crazy NBA trades last week. With the deadline coming up and the All-Star game in just 5 days, it's a thrilling time in the league, especially with the trading. So let's head to Namdi to explain the madness.
Thanks, Sid. We saw one of the craziest trade deadlines in the history of the NBA, which completely shook up the parity in both conferences. I'm Namdi Danike, and I'm your man to break it down for you. Let's talk winners and losers. Now, for some winners, I'm going to have to go with both Los Angeles teams, the Phoenix Suns, and any team at the top of the Eastern Conference. The Lakers traded away Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn, Juan Toscano Anderson, Damian Jones, Patrick Beverley, Thomas Bryant, and a 2027 first-round pick to get Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, Roy Hachimura, Devon Reed, Mo Bamba. We are also getting the homecoming of D'Angelo Russell, who the Lakers drafted number 2 overall in 2015. This team addressed multiple needs, adding good scoring, length and size, and players with decent upside given the correct opportunities. The LA Clippers were also moving weight last week. They traded away Reggie Jackson, John Wall, Luke Kennard, and a pick swap for Mason Plumlee, Bones Highland, and Eric Gordon. Finally, the Clippers will have a competent big to play behind Ivica Zubac, proper veteran scoring with Eric Gordon, also making a homecoming to the squad that drafted him in 2008, and a much-needed microwave scorer in Busy Bones, who was a year removed from All-Rookie second team last year. This haul also essentially cements Terrence Mann as the primary point guard in the lineup. Kevin Durant privately requested a trade to Phoenix after Kyrie Irving was dealt to Dallas. The Nets would receive Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and 4 first-round picks from the Phoenix Suns for Durant and TJ Warren. And I don't know if you guys back home are keeping track, but this is 3 homecomings with Warren being a part of that Suns team from 2014 to 2019. Durant is still nursing a right MCL strain, but is expected to return after the All-Star break. No matter the case, the Suns, who were already making a midseason comeback after early mediocrity, are instantly going to be heavy hitters going into the playoffs. This team won 60 games last year, and adding Durant gives Chris Paul another offensive juggernaut to make better on the court, and Devin Booker someone defenses will be forced to cover, opening more offensive opportunities for him. And with Durant and Irving gone, the Nets, who seem to have been surging and clicking and looked at to make noise in the East, are now in full rebuild mode after just a few weeks of Sean Marks playing My League IRL. Now, the top 4 teams in the East, as in the Cavs, Sixers, Bucks, and Celtics, now they don't have much to worry about in terms of anyone below them, barring maybe the Knicks, which leads them to my losers, the Bulls, Heat, and Raptors. The Chicago Bulls, Miami Heat, and Toronto Raptors by no means are young teams that are rebuilding. All 3 teams have potentially competitive rosters that could have used much improvement at the deadline in order to be put in the same echelon as the aforementioned Eastern Conference elites. Instead, the most movement all 3 teams saw combined was Toronto welcoming back Jakob Poeltl from San Antonio. That's homecoming count number 4, by the way. Guys like Zach LaVine, Kyle Lowry, OG Anunoby, and Fred VanVleet were all expected to be moved in order to expedite the painful admittance of the rebuilding stage. But instead, these teams seem complacent with mediocrity. Hey, but I've been Namdi Danike with your trade deadline breakdown, and now Barry's going to get you prepped for All-Star Weekend.
Thank you, Namdi. You are just 3 days away from NBA All-Star Weekend. A lot of NBA fans have been waiting for this moment. There have been spicy things heating up before the break, the trades, the teams trying to get their last couple wins before break. On February 3rd, dunk contest participants were announced that Max McClung, Trey Murphy, KJ Martin, and Shaedon Sharpe are rumored to participate. Only 2 of these guys were confirmed, according to CBS. A lot of people wanted Zion and John Morant in their dunk contest, but only time will tell when we get to see that matchup. Next, I have to inform you about 3-point participants. It's confirmed by Bleacher Report that Damian Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton, and Anthony Simmons are confirmed to be participants. It's also rumored that Lauri Markkanen wants to run it back. It would only make sense for him to play in because it's Salt Lake City, where he currently plays. I'm confident he will. He won it back in 2020 with the Sacramento Kings, where his 3-point shooting percentage was at a 43%. He's currently having a career best year right now, averaging 24 points, 8 boards, and 1 assist. He has a 51 field goal percentage, and he is also an all-star reserve. If he wants to participate, he will be somebody to look out for. And if he plays, there are obviously still other participants yet to be announced. Moving on to the skill challenge, there hasn't been any information about who's participating. It will be soon though. The new format was phenomenal last year, and they have 3 participants for each team they represent now. Team Cavs, who had Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and Jarrett Allen, won it last year. But this year, we will yet see who takes the crown. Now, the very first event that's All-Star related, but not NBA related, is the Celebrity All-Star Game. And since it's in Salt Lake City, Dwayne Wade, a part-time owner, and Ryan Smith, governor of the Utah Jazz, will be captains of this game. NBA players Giannis and his brothers Thanasis and Alex will help Dwayne Wade, and Olympic gold medalist Lindsey Vonn will also help. Helping for Team Ryan is 2-time WNBA champion Lisa Leslie, rapper Fat Joe, and Houston Astros third baseman Alex Bregman. Notable players on Team Wade is NFL star DK Metcalf, singer Janelle Monáe, and rapper 21 Savage. Notable players on the other team is MLB player Albert Pujols, WNBA All-Star Diamond DeShields, and WWE superstar The Miz, and also Hall of Fame wide receiver Calvin Johnson. Now, lastly, the most important thing about All-Star Week is the All-Star Game on Saturday night. The format for Team LeBron versus Team Giannis will be different. Both the captains will be picking starters in reserve right before the game starts. This will be an interesting format and will be a lot of pressure because you get to see fan reactions and player reactions. LeBron is currently 5-0 as a captain since the captain format started, and since the pressure is on both players now that they are picking, will that record hold up much longer? It's a lot to look forward to. Thank you for tuning in, and now we're going to send to Richie for a UFC update.
Thanks, Barry. I'm so excited to see what unfolds at this year's NBA All-Star Game. What we did in fact already see unfold is UFC 284, which happened this past Saturday in Perth, Australia. Headlined by the double title fight between Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. Now I'll be honest, this card was very mediocre, but it was carried by the 2 main events, so that's exactly what I'm going to spend my time talking about. Let's start with the first title fight of the night. This fight was between Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett for the interim featherweight title. Now this match was for the interim featherweight title and not the undisputed title because Alexander Volkanovski holds the undisputed belt, but we'll get to that soon. As for this fight, Yair dominated from the start. Now don't get me wrong, Josh Emmett was able to land a few good blows, but this thing was Yair's the whole way. Yair was able to stop Emmett in his tracks with vicious body kicks the whole fight, and then was able to land a flying knee in the second round which would drop Emmett and lead to Yair submitting Emmett on the ground by way of a triangle choke. Yair now will most likely fight Alexander Volkanovski for an undisputed featherweight title of the world. Now, for the reason why fight fans around the world truly tune into UFC 284, the first double title fight since 2019, and not just that, the first time ever that the pound for pound number 1 and 2 will be fighting against each other. Alexander Volkanovski moved up a weight class to challenge Islam Makhachev for his lightweight championship. Volk was looking to become just the 5th double champ ever in UFC history. However, the number of double champs in UFC history still sits at 4. But this fight was one for the ages. Volk held his own against a much bigger opponent in Islam, landing strike after strike and even sitting Islam down a few times, truly showing why he is a true warrior and still arguably the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the UFC right now. However, Islam's ground game would be too much for the smaller Volkanovski, and he would be able to rack up ground control time throughout the fight. This was the first time in UFC history that a double title fight went to decision. In this decision, the 3 judges all give Islam the win, allowing him to successfully defend his title against Volkanovski. I would put a pretty penny on a prediction that these two will fight again with the exact same stakes. Okay, talking about the UFC never gets old for me, but something that also never gets old is hearing Brock reveal the last week's top plays. Brock, let me see him.
Thank you, Richie. It is a bittersweet day for me today because my hometown Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, and I'm probably the happiest person in Lawrence, but it also means we don't get to watch football until September. I thought for today's edition of Top Plays, we should do the top 5 plays of the NFL season. Let's not waste any more time, and let's just jump right into it. Starting us off at play number 5 is Josh Jacobs' walk-off winner versus Seattle. Jacobs had himself a great season, but the Raiders did not. There's a lot of questions surrounding the Raiders as we head into the offseason, mainly who will be their starting quarterback next year. The biggest problem for the Raiders is that Patrick Mahomes is in their division, and they need a lot of help to compete in the AFC West. At play number 4 is one of the many incredible runs from Justin Fields this season. Fields just simply refused to go down. He did get pushed out of bounds at the 9, but the future looks bright in Chicago as Fields showed he is capable of being a franchise quarterback in this league. The Bears need to find some pieces around him if they want to compete next year. Coming in at play number 3 from Week 3 is this incredible catch by Steelers rookie George Pickens. The Steelers missed the playoffs, but as long as Mike Tomlin is their head coach, they are always in position to make a deep postseason run. Play number 2 comes from the man who just won his second MVP, Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. It's Patrick Mahomes being an absolute magician against the Bucs. Mahomes could have his own top plays, and we'd probably need more than 5 spots, but man, I got to tell you, it is awesome having Patrick Mahomes as your favorite team's quarterback. To me, the best player of the year is a no-brainer. Justin Jefferson made arguably the greatest catch of all time in such a huge moment in this Vikings comeback win against the Bills. After the season Jefferson had, which ended with him winning Offensive Player of the Year, it's probably safe to say that he owns the title of best wide receiver in the league. The Vikings didn't make much noise in the postseason, but overall it was a successful season for Minnesota. Well, folks, there you have it. Those were my top 5 plays from the NFL season. While we were all a little bit sad about not getting to watch football for a while, I think Cindy Clark has a football moment that might cheer us up.
Brock, my feel-good moment is around the Super Bowl, of course, but this one is about the fans. A special fan who served in the Navy for 21 and a half years, who never would have thought he would be able to say he's going to the Super Bowl. I don't want to say any more because this feel-good moment speaks for itself.
Football?
Sure.
You want to buy the football for $1?
If I had it.
What's your name?
Warren.
I'm Zach. Nice to meet you.
All right.
There's a game tomorrow.
I know. I'm going to watch it.
Oh, you got food for it?
Yeah, the Super Bowl.
How many years you been a fan of football for?
All my life. I played high school, college. I'm 62 years old.
Were you in the Marines?
Navy.
Navy.
Retired.
Thank you for your service. And
Thank you.
I want to give you this football.
Thank you.
Are you going to the Super Bowl?
No. I wish I had enough money to go to the Super Bowl.
I actually wanted to bless you something else today,
Okay,
too.
all right.
Because of the service you did.
Wow.
$1,000.
Thank you very much, man.
$1,000 cash.
Thank you. Give me a hug. God loves me, and God loves you, too.
You're forgetting one more thing, though.
What's that? What is this?
You got to open it up.
Can I open it up now?
Right now, you got to open it up.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Guess what you're doing tomorrow?
I'm going to the game.
You're going to the Super Bowl, man.
I'm going to the game.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Come on.
Oh, man. I'm crying. I did 21 and a half years active duty. I got shot here in the head. But guess what? If they called me tonight, I'd do it again.
You're an amazing individual, man.
Let's go, my God. God. I'm going to keep $200. And the rest is going to my mother, man. I will never, ever, ever, ever forget this day. Go, Chiefs!
And to top it all off, he saw his Kansas City Chiefs win it all. What a feel-good moment it was. Well, we will see you next week, but don't worry, there are other sports shows you can tune into throughout the week here on KU Media Crossroads. Playmakers at noon on Friday with On the Clock to follow at 1 p.m. We will see you all next time. Have a great week, and for all you Chiefs fans out there, enjoy the parade tomorrow.